All right, album track by track. Let's do this. I'm not sure if I should look into this camera or not because it makes it more professional or interviewee if I don't. But then again, it feels weird not to look at you guys. So I'll switch it up a little bit. I wanted to make this video mostly for myself as a way to look back and remember what these songs were actually, where these songs actually came from, what I was going through, what sparked them, what they meant in the moment. But also, if you're watching this, welcome in. Maybe you're a fan of the album, or maybe you're just curious. Maybe you're a creative person yourself, trying to figure out your own process. Either way, welcome to the video. This is the story of Swim. All right, the first one. Nice to meet you again. This is a full circle moment. I've been making music with Kabwasa and Jamel online for years, since 2019 and 2020, but this was our first time actually in the studio together. Kabwasa was my first ever EP. Jamel was the first vocal track I ever released as far as I'm concerned. So having both of them on Swim with a track that we made in person just felt right. I want the opener to feel inviting, not too hype, not too chill, just like a good mood instantly. Like a track that you're always in the mood for, and that's why Nice to Meet You Again had to go first. Moving on to the next one, Off the Wall. This track is basically brought to you by this one random surf video on YouTube, produced by a certain brand that may or may not also make shoes for land. I played that video on loop while I was producing a new track. One of the last tracks I made for the album. And now YouTube still recommends that video to me on a weekly basis. I made the whole beat in one session. It's got this kind of energy I love, kind of like surfing that line between bouncy and chill. It's starting out with this drum break, which gives it kind of like a similar energy to Go Time, the opener to my first album. So going from surfing to poolside. This next one is a proper power nap in song form. Recharge. When I think of my homie LESKY, I picture someone lounging by the pool or like going to the sauna and then like randomly making the perfect beat in 5 minutes. I made this sketch. I was inspired by that vibe. And so I figured who better to hit up than LESKY, the man himself. And he goes, I'm leaving on vacation tomorrow, of course, but let me try something really quick. And next day he sends back like a whole, like fully reworked version of that track that I had sent him, which I barely recognized anymore. So I had to even ask him which parts were still mine, which is cool. But also this is like a LESKY track on my album. Except for that outro, that's all mine. Plus he like chopped up this rap loop that I asked him to add. I love how it turned out. So recharging puts you in like this dream state, and this is where the album moves next. In a dream, keep moving. It's kind of like an interlude character type of song. It's one of the first song titles that I knew I wanted on the album, even long time before I had the album title. I had this exact vibe in mind, like dream pop, shoegaze, something in that like beach house, Tame Impala world. And obviously there's a ton of other bands that I but weirdly, this one ended up being one of the last tracks that I made. The drums are from the CR78, which is one of my all-time favorite drum machines. You can even hear it back on my first ever released track, Orange Waves. Go check that out. Back from 2018, I think. And I've just like been waiting for the right moment to bring it back again. That hi-hat and those percussion sounds are everything. So yeah, in a dream, keep moving and then move on, because I just had to. The song was originally titled City Never Sleeps and was one of the first beats I made for the album, but then it almost didn't end up on the album. But yeah, going back to the title, I just figured it's funny to follow up In a Dream Keep Moving with Move On. Stupid. But yeah, the song almost didn't make it. I always felt like something was missing, and then my wife went like, hey, why don't you like just add some rap vocals to that? And that was it. So I hit up the Adoni. We'd been meaning to collab for over a year at that point, but it just never lined up. We even almost met in person in LA, so this would have almost been in person track number 2. But yeah, either way, it worked out. Kind of similar to my first album, I wanted to have vocal tracks as kind of like anchor points on that album to connect the dots between the instrumental stories I'm trying to tell, and just like keeping the overall story flowing. But after all that moving we've been doing in our dreams and IRL, I just need a rest. And so these transitions, man. Yeah, this one is just about taking a step back, breathing, trust the process. It's kind of like an affirmation type of title, which I love doing. But whenever I make one of those, they always come from a true place. They always come from a place where I've been through something. So they always mean a lot to me. And they're actually reminders to myself, but also like to share them with you guys, with the audience. So yeah, don't worry about things too much. Trust the process. You'll get there. I've made a couple of these before. You're exactly where you need to be right now is another very important one to me. Trust your instincts, slow down, take a breath. But yeah, I think this one's my favorite. It actually started out as a beat for another project. Once I heard it, I knew it had to, like, it just belonged on the album. It's just the one, you can see it right now. It's just that track that makes me smile whenever I even think about it. You guys are hearing it right now. I'm just like thinking about it right now. Yeah, so it's like, sometimes I zoom in too much, and this one's just like a reminder to zoom out a little bit, to just float a little and stay calm and, you know, trust the bigger picture. After that, this is where the album changes its color quite a bit. So less like glowy and more grounded, less motion and more like reflection. And it's generally getting more personal, I would say. Low tide is about that feeling when your energy is just gone and there's no inspiration left, no momentum. It's just about, you know, reminding myself that the tide is coming back. Waves will be back so that you can keep swimming. I made this one with my wife in mind. I don't even think she knows that. So if you're watching this, thank you. She's probably not watching this. But yeah, she's that presence in my life, the one who lifts me up when I'm down and the one that just brings back the tides, you know. We live right by the sea. You can actually see it from that room and some other rooms as well. And so I also wanted to make something that just reminds me of this place because we're probably not gonna live here forever. So yeah, it's just something that feels grounded, calm, natural. And you can hear that shift as well. The last two tracks on the album are led by a guitar, not synthesizers. So they move different. They're more grounding. So speaking of which, the last one. That one came kind of out of nowhere. Also, one of the first ones I actually ever made. The melody for Point Doom came to me on a bike ride, just out of nowhere. And I just had it stuck in my head and I came back home and it was still there. And that barely ever happens. And I just knew this is how I gotta end the album. Again, one of the first tracks I made for the album. I think I filmed that whole session. Might upload it here, but I probably won't. Let me know if you want to see that. The title is inspired by this place Point Doom and Malibu. And yeah, it ties back to California, the place where the whole album starts. It's dedicated to a close friend of mine and just some moments in life that I know I'll never forget. So I knew it had to be on the album. And that's it. That's Swim. Feels good to have those memories recorded. I'll probably come back to this video one day. And yeah, that's the album. That is Swim. Thank you guys so much for watching. And thanks for listening to Swim.